Well, so far we got the old Belarus running and driving, but she needs a little bit of maintenance and some, she needs some attention. So come along as we give her a little bit of love. So the wiring on this tractor is, well, it's just a mess. So basically we're gonna rip all that out and completely redo it. We started tracing out the wiring, and sure enough it doesn't match any of the wiring diagrams, but we got everything traced and labeled. We started putting in new switches and gauges up here. This gauge is just a temporary volt gauge till we get the right one. For some reason it's 32 volt, which is fine, except that it reads 32 volt when it should read 12, so that gauge isn't going to work for our purposes. Pulled the headlights off because those bulbs are shot. We got new lamps on order, and then we'll put them back in and wire them in. These fixtures and bulbs are good. Took them apart, checked them, verified, put them back together again. Back here, the license plate light works, and you know, this is, you can tell this tractor is perfectly street legal because it has a place for a license plate and a light. Work lights. I ordered new LED work lights because, again, I want to be able to use this at night, and so we'll replace those at some point. The one remaining fixture is just completely shot. Oh, yep, as you can see, yep, completely shot. These rear tail lights, well, the lenses are, you know, both of them are in sad shape, and although these are good, I don't really feel like buying replacement lenses because they're more expensive. So we got a solution for that, because I'm really not going to be driving this on the road at night. I just want, you know, mainly headlights, but we'll just put some markers on there just in case, in the odd scenario, we can see what we're doing at night. I'll show you what we got for that. And we got to finish wiring up our switches for all the lights here now. We've got it traced out. And we're not going to be putting on the brake lights, which is the third wire on these fixtures, because the switch for the brake light is shot. I've checked it in both positions and nothing changes, so we're not going to wire that up. Like I said, I don't care if I have brake lights anyway, because, you know, I'm not going to be driving it on the road, so she's just going to be a, you know, around the farm kind of unit. I'm waiting on gauges, but I can get at least the wires for the lights hooked up. I got the start circuits. This is glow plugs. And yes, it's not a momentary switch because you just don't have enough hands to do that. This is just a momentary keyed switch for the starter. I didn't get all fancy and get an actual replacement switch, and because that wiring was already not factory, and well, yeah, it was kind of messed up. So basically you're going to turn your glow plugs on, and you're just going to hold this to engage the starter, which is fine. I'll have to label those switches there. We did opt to replace the factory fuse panel with a newer model. We're keeping the battery cutoff switch. Other than that, most of the functionality is going to remain the same for the electrical system, such as it is. Got a new oil pressure gauge on order. I don't know about, I got to find a fuel gauge, or at least what ohm range this fuel gauge is. I'm not sure, but what do we have? Voltage. This comes with an amperage gauge, but I don't know. That's just a fire hazard. I don't need to know how much current it's drawing because it's a diesel engine. So I'm just gonna use a voltage gauge. And oh, we need a horn button. The horn doesn't work. I pulled it off and tested it, and the horn's actually blown up. So I don't know if I'm going to put the horn back in again because, you know, not a street tractor. But we have a temperature gauge coming. The temperature is electric. The oil is mechanical because that's just the way this works. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe this is the oil temperature, and I believe that this is the oil pressure, I think. Not 100% certain on that, but I'm kind of led to believe that. Yeah, if I'm wrong, then I'll figure it out. We're gonna continue kind of with our, you know, half janky wiring and get back to, we also have to do a service on this tractor. I want to check all the fluids, probably change the fluids. I think there's a hydraulic filter. I believe there's a hydraulic canister filter in here. To check the hydraulic, I think you got to check it there. I don't know. I'm not sure how you check the level without a dipstick. Gotta look into that. We got a manual for this somewhere. I haven't checked the hydraulics here yet. This does have front hydraulics. This is your front hydraulics, and this is your PTO hydraulics. I don't know if the front hydraulics are actually hooked up to anything. Not sure. It looks like it's just capped off. But I mean, we could put a loader or something on the front of this thing if we wanted to. Anyway, we're going to continue with the wiring and some of our little other odds and ends here, and we'll get back to you when we have something halfway decent to show you. Oh, the belt started to deteriorate, but we knew that was going to happen. Got to get a new belt. Also, I don't know if you noticed in the last video when we were running the engine, this alternator was just shaking around something fierce. I got to check. I think it's something to do with this. I don't see a bolt in there. I think there's supposed to be a bolt through here holding this in. All I see is a bushing and an empty bracket. There's a bolt in the front. We'll have to check that out. Looks like it's full of mud or something. We've got some lights working and things like that. And we've even got, like, you know, turn signals. Things like that. We've been getting some of these little things working on this thing, kind of to make it just a nicer all-around tractor. Most importantly, we've been putting in some gauges. We got oil temperature and oil pressure. Waiting on headlights. That we can reuse the buckets on these things, which are not original Belarus. They're like aftermarket rubber motorcycle headlight buckets, which are actually pretty cool because you just put in your sealed beam unit. And we got some nice LED headlights on the way, probably made of Chinesium, but we're waiting for them. Back here we got some nice LED work lights that we're hooking up, and just some tails and turn signals that we whipped up from trailer lights, because I mean, I'm not going to be driving this thing on the road, but in case I ever have to sell it or something, it'll have lights. You can say, hey, you know, circuits work if you want to put on real tractor lights. We got to do something about this brake that's frozen up, and I have not checked the alternator output on this engine yet. We'll get to that once we have everything wired up here. But oh, cable tie. So this compression release is kind of annoying without a knob, you know, because you gotta pull it. So, you know, we rednecked a knob together from the old threaded piece. I don't know if it'll hold up. Go on in there. Go on there. Such a tiny thread on this. I can't find any other knob that really matches it. All right, let's see if we... It'll work. So now we can actually... Oh, pine needles. Oh my goodness. Quit making my tractor dirty. Have to get a cover for this thing or something. What's next? Headlights, I think. These headlight buckets are I don't think they're factory Belarus. They're like a motorcycle bucket, but they're rubber, which is kind of cool because you just take your sealed beam in and out. We dispensed with the old sealed beams and just went to LED, so hopefully it'll be a little brighter. Okay, so I got my Chinesium headlights installed. One came with a broken lens, which since it's an LED lamp, I patched up and angrily emailed the eBay seller because they were just packed in a paper bag. Anyway, I hooked them up. That one doesn't work at all. That's the unbroken one. This one works, but well, let me show you. You ready for this? Okay, here we go. So there's low beams, which, okay, we got some lights, but I don't know if you can see it on camera, but what's with the psychedelic colored flashing LEDs? Can you see that? Can you see that? What is with that? This is supposed to be a motorcycle headlamp. Do people in China go around on their motorcycles like in party mode, or what is going on here? I don't know, but it's a tractor. Anyway, you can see this is low beam. The high beam lights up these other 3 LEDs, but since it's rotated like this, you know, I can't really control the rotation inside there without not having enough wire to actually wire anything. So it's going to be rotated wrong, but it's a tractor and it'll help me see at night. Oh, this one's got some, well, the LEDs seem to be working in this one, or the colored LEDs. Oh, they're kind of working there. I don't know what's going on here. I'll check my connections on that one. I'm not sure what the psychedelic flashing LEDs is about. We'll get back to you on that. Do the high beams work on this one? Oh no, that just shuts it off completely when you turn the high beams on there. Alright, look at that. I don't know about the LEDs, but let's see if we get that headlight working. Well, got both headlights working. When it gets dark here, there's the work lights. When it gets dark here, we'll show you how bright these things really are. We do have almost a full suite of gauges here. Unfortunately, I just fried my voltmeter accidentally. Frankly, I'm tired of replacing voltmeters on that thing, so we have to test oil, pressure, and temperature. Speedometer does work, it's just really hard to read because it's original. And all our switchgear, new switchgear down here works, which we'll go over. Oh, we have a horn. There it is. Trying to think up names for this thing, and well, then we put on these, you know, party lights here, and she seems like a Russian party girl, so I don't know. Maybe we'll call her Svetlana, the party girl. And of course, the work lights back here are aimable. You can tilt them up or down, you know, according to what you want to do. And our tail lights are working. Turn signals. And back here, you know, if you need turn signals, which you don't. Here's the high beams. High beams light up all the LEDs instead of just the top 3, or in this case the side 3, because they're mounted wrong. So, of course, up here on our dash now we have lighted switches, so you can tell when something's on or off. So this is your high beam switch. These are your turn signals, left, right. This one isn't lit because it's a 2 position. These are your work lights. This is your battery cutoff. For the positive side, it still has the negative, the factory negative battery disconnect here, which we've labeled, and our nice new fuse block here. And of course, all the labeling and stuff on the switches is now correct. We gotta do some final adjustment here, put this on and so forth. This one looks like it's pointed at the sky. I gotta rearrange that a little bit. Well, let's test out the headlights. It's getting dark. let's see what we got. Battery, ignition, lights. Oh yeah, lights up pretty good. I-beams. Oh yeah, that's very bright. Even with them the ones kind of aimed up at the sky, I gotta tweak them a little bit and adjust them. But let's test the work lights. Oh yeah, work lights are great. Maybe I should have gotten some of those as headlights instead. Oh yeah, she's well lit now. That's good. We can see what we're doing in the dark. And we can also use this as a mobile light station basically now. If we're doing something and we need some light, we can back up old Svetlana here and, you know. Oh, you can tell she's road legal because she's got a license plate light. Well, anyway, yeah. So she's, you know, half road legal, if that mattered. Low beams, high beams, low beams, no lights, lights. Even these lights up here are pretty nice and bright. They're supposed to be markers, but they're plenty visible. Let's see, turn signals. There's our turns. Turns are actually pretty bright as well. We won't be driving on the road, and definitely not at night. All right, that's it for the lights. Well, what do you say, Winston? Is it fully inspected? All right, how are we for the tube? All right. Oh, that's been in there a while. I went to break the tire bead on this thing, and of course I don't have the proper equipment, and the reason I decided to do it myself is because I just can't find anybody around here who will put a tube in. Called a bunch of people and they won't get back to us, and called a bunch of other people, they won't do it. Tire stores won't do it. I don't know, it's a mess. Nobody does tubes anymore apparently. Anyway, figured I'd do it myself. I don't have the proper equipment, but I've done it before with big tires, and it's a pain and you fight your way through it. Came up with the usual redneck methods of, you know, stick a jack under it and compress it between your vehicle bumper, or, you know, use C-clamps, which I don't have any big enough. And, you know, I was all ready to get the jack out and everything, and, well, you know, then the love of my life comes out and says, well, why don't you just stick it under the trailer jack and just crank it down and break the bead that way? And I looked at her, and it's the most genius idea I've ever heard. So that's what we did, and I've never broken a bead easier in my life. It was absolute genius. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a quick way to break a bead and you got a trailer, hook it up to your vehicle so it can't lift it up in the air, and just, you know, take your trailer jack down with a block of wood. Anyway, I think we got the tube in. It's, you know, the tire's cracked and everything, but it's a tractor tire, and hopefully the tube will hold air long enough for our purposes. So we got about 30 psi in this thing, so we're gonna stick her on there and hopefully she'll do the job. We got our tire now, so I think the next stage is here to start up Svetlana and, you know, test out the gauges and test out the engine temperatures and pressures, and then we'll do a, once we get her warm, we'll do a service on her and change the fluids and things, hopefully. Oh, there she is. Everything works except for the stuff that doesn't. The volt gauge is all over the place. I think the manual says that this thing is supposed to have an external voltage regulator. And my research says that the alternator has an internal voltage regulator. I don't think it has any voltage regulator because that thing is just off the scale at like 17 or 18 volts, which isn't great for everything, but I don't know, I'll probably have to put a voltage regulator on it. Anyway, the alternator works. It's just putting out voltage to the moon, I don't know. Probably boiling the battery. Get great oil pressures, you get 75 oil pressure cruising around like that. I don't think the temperature gauge works because I got no temperature still. Tire held up. Our tube job, I don't know how much longer she'll hold up, but she held up. Anyway, she's ready to do what I need her to do. Got to take this dent out in the hood. Gonna pound that out and, I don't know, give her a shine. I don't know, I kind of like this patina. It's good for a tractor. I think maybe we should just clean her up and shine her up. You know, she's earned it. So now we can tow trailers and stuff. Our hydraulic cylinder is leaking. This is fresh. Which I knew it was leaking before because, you know, you can tell. The hoses are okay. I don't know, I think the fittings maybe or something, but we'll take a look at that. We're not going to be using this hydraulic system just too much other than to raise and lower trailers, but this all works here. And got her. I had to buy this new because it didn't come with one. This thing, you can order these online. This is actually sold as a category 1, but I had to upgrade it with category 2 pins because apparently this little tractor is a category 2 hitch. Even though it's maybe 20 horsepower at the PTO, it should be a category 1, but everything is beefed up, and on this tractor it's just everything is bigger than it ought to be, which is great. I'm happy with that. We'll service her up and put her to work. Runs great, steers great. That thing goes fast. Oh, I gotta bolt the seat down.
Yeah, so
we're
you're
having
kind
some issues.
sliding around.
Got cruising around. I totally forgot the seat wasn't bolted down, and it's just scooting right off to the side. So, yeah, it's having fun. I ought to do something about the seat. You know, these things on the armrests, they come up and just poke your elbows right out. Probably take those off at the very least, even if I don't put padding on there, but probably ought to get a pad for the, you know, these things aren't too comfy. So at this point, it's pretty much cosmetics. Alright, I got the brake fixed. around front and give her a little bit of a bath. We're in low gear here just because I don't want to knock you guys off the back of the tractor. Gauge the brake there. Good oil pressure though, I like that. Still nothing out of the temperature gauge. No power steering on this thing, so a little harder to steer at low speeds, but she does steer. It's not terrible. I think if you got more weight on the front end, it would be a little harder to steer, but she does have those ballast weights. Shut off the battery there. All right, let's get to washing this thing and cleaning her up. Well, we shined her up, gave her a little bit of cosmetic loving. I did cut the loose bolts off the seat so it doesn't poke into you now, and cleaned her up. Doesn't have moss growing on it anymore, and you know, that kind of thing. So she's looking a lot cleaner now. So and we blew out the inside of the engine, the air, to make sure the airflow stays good. Kind of cleaned up any of the dripping fluids and anything that have, you know, locked themselves in there, but there really wasn't a lot of that. A lot of the black you see are just is just missing paint now. So, you know, supposedly this thing had about 800 hours on it before it was parked, and I don't know, it seems about right based on the average condition of everything. I think I am going to try to do something with this shifter boot here. I don't want to let water into the transmission, and I'm hoping there's not much in there now. I gotta look up in the manual and see how to check that fluid. Probably should have checked that already, but I did not. And at some point we'll have to address our hydraulic fluid leak. I went over the cylinder really good, so hopefully when that dries off and we run it, we can tell where that's leaking and snip that down. That's for the seat belt, which was incredibly dirty, but now it's a lot cleaner. I guess maybe it works. I don't know. Does it work? It does kind of work, yeah. Huh, look at that. Oh, we'll have a seat belt there, which is good because I actually did bolt the seat down finally, so the looseness there is, oh, because those bolts are loose. Well, yeah, at some point I'll have to do something about that. I think if we want to check the hydraulic filter. We got to pull this seat off anyway because the plate has to come up so you can get to that. But so we might end up pulling the seat off again. I don't know. I'll check the condition of the hydraulic fluid. The stuff that was leaking out though looked pretty good. So I think this thing you just use regular engine oil. It's hydraulic fluid. Yeah, use motor oil and hydraulic tank. So the stuff that was leaking out looked like very good condition engine oil. So that is probably in good shape, but we'll give that a look. And then the engine oil, which probably just it's good condition, but probably hasn't been changed in a while. So you know, we'll freshen that up. The fuel filters, I already cleaned them when we did the initial thing, which I didn't show on camera. I had pulled them out and just flushed them because, you know, I wasn't sure if I would needed to replace them yet. But we're just going to leave that because the fuel system's functioning, and this is the oil filter, which we'll take care of. Anyhow, she's clean now. Well, this episode is getting kind of long, and figured we'd cut it off here and we'll finish up the maintenance on another section. If you want to see the future maintenance on this thing, feel free to subscribe, and you know, if you feel like it, give her a like, and it all helps the channel and lets us know if we're doing a good job. And thanks for watching.